Hi, my name is Nina Ski, and I'd like to welcome you to All About Art. Today I have a very fascinating guest on the show. I would like to welcome and introduce Michael Bourdon. Michael, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure, Nina.
You're all the way from Reno.
Yes.
So I'm happy that you were able to make it. We have a little bit different of an art form today. It's called Transcendental Meditation.
Right.
Okay, I said it correctly. I'm so proud. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, one of my interpretations of the goal of art is to give people a deeper understanding of the nature of reality. And that's what Transcendental Meditation does. It allows the individual to go deep within their own consciousness and experience a high level of silence, inner silence and peace, and also a very high level of creativity and intelligence that exists at that level of the individual. Unfortunately, most people don't have access to that very frequently when they don't practice Transcendental Meditation. So it sort of causes a transformation in the individual when they do get the ability to access that level that we refer to as pure consciousness.
Now, is this something that you can teach me in a 24-hour period? Is it a session, an independent session?
It takes about 5 sessions.
5 sessions?
About an hour and a half each.
And is that just between you and I, if I were to take a session, or is it a group setting?
It's partially one-on-one, and it's partially in a group. So there's the actual instruction in how to practice the technique, and that's one-on-one. And following that, then we meet in a group for what we call verification and validation of the practice.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you recommended a few different websites for me to check out to get a little bit more familiar with what in Transcendental. I knew I was going to kill that. That's been around for a long time.
Yes, it has. It's been around for 5,000 to 10,000 years, but it was reintroduced to the United States by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in 1959.
I see. And when we were visiting, you mentioned many movie stars are very popular people take this, and it seems to work for them too. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Would you like to hear the names of people? Or
yes, like, you know, one of them was Beatles. And
the Beatles, Jerry Seinfeld, Clint Eastwood, Ellen DeGeneres, Oprah Winfrey, Russell Brand, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And Katy Perry.
So this is something that could be for anybody, absolutely.
Oh yes,
anybody.
sure.
It's a fantastic way to grow your inner being.
Yes, exactly.
You know, now you brought some images that are here on the stage with us. Can you give me an idea of the purposes?
Yes. This is Maharishi's teacher, who we refer to as Guru Dev. His full name was Swami Brahmananda Saraswati Shankaracharya of Jyotirmath.
Glad I don't have to say that one.
And he passed away in 1953. And this is Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who saw fit to share the knowledge that he received from Guru Dev with the whole world. And the ultimate goal is to enlighten the whole world and bring about an age of enlightenment.
Yeah, I found it very interesting that it would bring you to an inner peace within yourself to be able to learn how to meditate. Is this physically or just mentally healthy for a person?
Well, there have been over 350 peer-reviewed research projects on the health benefits of Transcendental Meditation. And it is a mental technique that you practice sitting comfortably in a chair with your eyes closed and it's an effortless process, unlike many other types of meditation. And people have difficulty practicing concentration and contemplation techniques, but they have a very easy time practicing transcendental meditation. So that's why it's so popular, because even 10-year-olds can practice transcendental meditation.
Now this helps you to refocus or focus deeper.
Mm-hmm. It helps you to have a much clearer focus on whatever you're interested in, because it reduces the noise level in your mind. People often complain these days that they can't slow their mind down. They have this incessant thinking process, overthinking everything, and they really would like to get some relief from that. And in the extreme, it results in anxiety and even depression or panic attacks. So when they get relief from that, they start enjoying life a lot more, and they're able to focus on whatever they're interested in a lot more effectively.
Well, I know just before the show began to air, one of my statements was, I need 72 hours in a 24-hour day because I do too many things.
Right.
I would anticipate or assume that if I were to take this course, it would teach me to focus a little deeper on each different personality that I have.
Sure. Well, it wouldn't necessarily teach you that specifically, but that would be a byproduct of going deep within and experiencing that infinite silence that exists there, and coming back out of meditation into activity. You would have some of that silence still in your awareness, so that you wouldn't be going too fast any longer. You'd be going appropriately for what you needed to do or accomplish.
Now, I don't know if this is the right terminology, but I'm going to go for it. Does it metabolically change your being? And how is it healthy?
Well,
is it just heart attacks? Or?
Yes, it actually does. It allows you to experience a metabolic rate that's 50% lower than what you experience during deep sleep. And when the body has an opportunity to operate at that low level of metabolic functioning, it takes the opportunity to heal itself. And one of the ways it heals itself is it dissolves the accumulated stresses that have been building up over a whole lifetime.
Now, what factor, or what is the biggest factor for you of how and why you got into this as your lifelong career?
Well, I learned it when I was a sophomore in college, and like many people, my grades weren't exactly as good as I would hoped, or I had hoped they would be. So I saw a poster on the wall advertising a presentation on TM. So I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Not because I wanted to use that to improve my grades. I had no idea that it would improve my grades. But I ended up taking the course, and a year later, I was pleasantly surprised that my grade point average had gone up dramatically. And the reason that happens when people take up this practice is that you have more inner peace, inner silence, and you also have expanded consciousness. So you're more able to absorb new information, especially in a classroom setting, but even after you've graduated from school, it's still helpful to be able to learn new things very easily. So that helped me in my career, and then I ended up getting a master's degree, and it's just been a much better quality of life than I think I would have had otherwise if I hadn't learned TM when I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, this is a very wide practiced format of doing meditation. Do you go to different seminars where people from around the world come?
Yes, we do have assemblies of large numbers of meditators who practice TM. And the purpose of that is that when large groups get together, there's a multiplication factor that takes place. So if you have 100 people meditating together, the effect is like that of 300 people meditating individually.
That's interesting.
So it amplifies itself when people meditate together in a group.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have about 2,000 people in the center of the United States meditating twice a day, every day, to help the collective consciousness of the United States and the success and invincibility of the United States. And that's really helping. So Oprah Winfrey went to that town, which is called Fairfield, Iowa, and did several programs on the life of the people there. It's a town of only about 9,000 people, but about 4,000 of them are TM meditators.
Really? And so I bet in that little small town they probably have a very long life.
Oh yes.
You know, they live
Definitely.
longer, they have less heart attacks,
Right.
less nervous breakdowns.
Health is dramatically improved.
Mm-hmm.
Several studies that have been done on TM found that among people who have meditated for 5 years or more, the physical age is about 12 years younger than the actual chronological age.
I need to start meditating.
So if you go for a physical and you're 50 years old, the doctor will say, that's strange, your body seems to be functioning at the level of a 38-year-old.
I really like that. Well, and now how does a person get involved? Like, how would I get a hold of you, per se?
Well, you could just go to tm.org, and there's a button you could click on that says Find a Local Teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So you click on that, you put in your zip code, and it'll give you my contact information.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. Now, what is the purpose of the books that you brought?
Oh, well, this book, the Bhagavad Gita, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, goes into Maharishi's teachings in great detail, and it's very insightful and well written, and it's, in my opinion, the best commentary that's been written on the Bhagavad Gita, which is an ancient text that supposedly comes from Lord Krishna thousands of years ago, and each verse can be elaborated on in great detail, and that's what Maharishi does in this book. But from his perspective, you get a much deeper insight than you would from somebody who wasn't at his level of consciousness.
So is this a book, it looks like an aged book. Is it
Yes.
still something that you're able to pick up?
Yes, actually that edition is no longer in print, but there's a new edition that is in print. I like this edition because it's available used for about $8 on Amazon or eBay.
Mm-hmm. So I will hold the book up, and you know, hopefully you can always get a hold of Michael Bourdon out of Reno, Nevada, and he can give you, I can't say the words. Okay, now the other book?
This one here is a biography of Guru Dev, Maharishi's teacher, which some people would find interesting if they would like to know more about this guru who was the Shankaracharya of the north in India. He was born around 1887 and he died in 1953.
Mm-hmm.
So life was quite different there in the 1800s than it is here. So it's an interesting book if you're inclined in that direction.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm wondering also at the same time with groups of people that you get together, say in a meditation group, I'm assuming that 10 people might gather together on every
Yes.
Thursday. You have your meditation session going on. Do you have the opportunity to share what works and what does not work independently within the group?
Yes, yes, people do have that opportunity. They talk about their experiences. And we have what we refer to as a checking meditation, where we give them the experience of the correct start of meditation to make sure they're still meditating correctly. And the results are quite amazing. People are very pleased with the way they feel after they learn TM, especially if they came in complaining of anxiety or drug abuse, alcohol abuse, cigarette smoking. They'd like to quit, but they don't know how. And so there's a softening of the person and an increase in their own connection with their inner self. So they find that to be a great improvement in the quality of life.
So how about if a family wanted to have, say, therapy sessions or psychiatric sessions? Would this be equivalent, having meditation within a family unit and maybe bringing them closer?
Oh, definitely, yes. I would recommend it. And I've actually seen that among families that I've instructed in TM. And frequently there will be children involved, and they find that they do better in school, especially if they have ADHD. And this is one of the best cures for ADHD and autism and Asperger's syndrome and any learning disability. So even if they don't have learning disabilities, they still improve their scholastic performance.
Wonderful. What is the youngest student, and then what is the oldest student that you've had the experience?
5 years old is the youngest, and the oldest, there's no limit. I mean, 95 years old, you can still learn TM.
Wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Now, is this, you talked about sitting in chairs. Are there some people that would prefer to lay on a mat or sit?
You can sit any way you want. We recommend sitting as opposed to lying down, unless you can't sit because you have lower back problems, and then lying down would be the only way you could do it. But if you can sit, then it's better, because people tend to store a lot of stress in their necks, upper back, and shoulders. So during meditation, you may feel a need to stretch your neck, turn your neck, because you become aware of tension that's been held there for maybe for decades, and you feel a need to stretch it out and loosen it up. So that's why we recommend the sitting position. But there's no need to be rigid about the way you're sitting. You don't have to have your back completely straight, and if you feel a need to change your position, if you want to sit cross-legged halfway through the meditation, then that's fine. Or if you feel a need to scratch or move your neck, it's perfectly fine.
Now, is there a music or tones or anything that you play in the background, or is it complete silence?
We recommend silence is best.
Okay. And then if I were interested in teaching this, how would one go about doing that?
Well, the first step would be to learn the practice of Transcendental Meditation yourself. And then one prerequisite for a teacher would be that you would need about 4 advanced meditation techniques, and then a 5th advanced technique, which we call the TM Cities program. And from then on, you'd be eligible for teacher training, which takes about 6 months. So the whole process would take about 2 years.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I would like to take a break just for a moment, and we'll be right back. So stay tuned. Thanks.
You're watching TTC TV, Channel 6, Truckee Tahoe Community Television.
Well, I'd like to welcome you back to All About Art. I'm sitting on the stage here with a very interesting person, Mr. Michael Bourdon out of Reno, Nevada, with Transcendental Meditation. Now, I just so happen to have picked up this book, and it says, The Science of Being and the Art of Living. Love it. Can you tell me a little about this guy?
Yes, this is a book that Maharishi wrote before he wrote his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So it's more general and talks about all the ways that contact with the essence of the inner self can improve all aspects of life. So later, researchers became aware of Transcendental Meditation and decided that they would test some of the hypotheses that were presented in this science of being about how life would be improved. And they found that life improves in the areas of physical health, mental health, social behavior, and world peace. And as I said earlier, over 350 studies have been published showing the benefits in all those different areas. And some of the areas of improvements in physical health are heart disease. A 9-year study was completed last December, not 2014, but 2013, that showed that among people with heart disease, mortality rate went down by 30%, which is amazing because there are no drugs that can give you that kind of a result. But even more surprisingly, they found that people who don't have heart disease, their mortality rate went down 25%. So
Very interesting.
that means your likelihood of dying on any given day is 25% less than it would be if you hadn't been practicing this simple mental technique that's practiced sitting quietly with your eyes closed for 20 minutes twice a day. So in addition, they also found that TM dramatically improves people with diabetes
Interesting.
and obesity, and most notably PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a terrible problem for people returning from war-torn areas like Afghanistan and Iraq. And the Veterans Administration hasn't known how to help these people, but now they're finding that Transcendental Meditation is one of the most effective ways to help people with PTSD.
Now, with that being said, is this something that your medical insurance would cover?
Probably not yet in most cases,
Okay.
but even without the medical insurance covering it, it's a great benefit to the people who suffer from these conditions, and many of them would be willing to pay for it themselves because they want the benefits.
Oh, absolutely. You know, if it's going to help you that tremendously, I can see the vested purpose behind it all.
Sure.
It reaps many more rewards than what it costs.
Yes, definitely.
You can consistently expand. Now, this is your wife also meditates with you.
Yes, she does.
And that's got to be fun to be able to work, live, play, and do all of that together.
Yes, it just enhances life tremendously.
Yeah. Now, you've been married many years and you have children of your own. Do they study or have you put them through this meditation process as they were growing?
Yes, yes, I have. And they're doing great. They're having